Okay, learning objective number 5, analyze the impact of leverage on the financial statement. When you hear the term leverage in the wonderful world of finance, we're really talking about debt. When you hear that a company is highly leveraged, that means they have a lot of debt. So first, let's take a look at the debt ratio, which measures total debt, which is liabilities, relative to total assets. It measures the proportion of total liabilities to total assets. Companies who have high debt relative to total assets will be considered to be highly leveraged, and they will also be considered to be of higher risk. The leverage ratio is computed by taking average total assets and dividing it by the average common stockholders' equity. This is known as the equity multiplier. The ratio shows a company's total assets per dollar of stockholders' equity. Here we can see the leverage ratio comparison of Southwest and United Continental. These are two airlines. We can see that Southwest is about half the size of United Continental in terms of assets. Their equity is, interestingly enough, pretty close to the same. The leverage ratio, which is 1 divided by 2, meaning that this divided by this gives us 2.82, while this divided by that gives us 4.61. So the leverage ratio is 461. It's higher because relative to the amount of assets, they have less common stock equity. So the leverage ratio is higher. Total debts, 14,845. I'm sure this is in millions, but 14,845 compared to 31,485. So now you can see, although the assets are twice as much by United Continental, liabilities are actually larger than twice as much, which is why we would consider United Continental to be highly leveraged, or more highly leveraged, more leveraged than Southwest. Total assets for this period of time is 23,286. This must be for 2016. So 23,286 versus 40,091. And so now the debt ratio, which is 4 divided by 5, is 63.8% and 78.5%. So you can see, relative to Southwest, United Continental has a higher debt ratio. Therefore, that means that they have a higher leverage ratio. A couple of other computations that we can look at for a couple of other ratios. Time interest earned. This measures the number of times the operating income can cover the interest expense. Pretty straightforward. We're going to take operating income and we're going to divide that by interest expense. So as an example here, Southwest, let's assume that Southwest has $3,760,000,000 in income. Their interest expense is $122 million. Their interest coverage ratio, the ability for them to cover their interest, is 30.8 times. This divided by that. For United Continental, however, they have $4,338,000,000 in interest expenses for the upcoming year. But they also have $4,338,000,000 in operating income, but they also paid $614 million in interest expenses. So we take 4,338 divided by 614, and that gives us 7.1 times. So again, we would feel safer with Southwest because their operating income is generating 30.8 times what they need to pay in interest expense, while United Continental is generating 7.1 times of income compared to what they pay in interest expense.